Hey there, guys. Welcome to Unit 4, Lesson 4. This is going to be a pretty quick video today. We're going to go back and finish one of those interactive notebook pages that we started last week and continue talking about how the United States was like growing its power during this time period, specifically looking at the Marshall Court. So what you're going to do today is we're going to go over that interactive notebook page and put that information in. And then you have an assignment. If you were in class, we're doing this assignment together, but odds are if you're watching this video, it's because you were not in class. So you're going to have to go through and complete this assignment on your own and make sure that you get it turned in. This is the part of the interactive notebook that you're going to be filling in today. So just these two little spots, like I said, it's going to be very quick. So just make sure you pull up that Monroe Doctrine and Marshall Court page. And then let's go ahead and get into it. So the Marshall Court is called the Marshall Court because of the Chief Justice at the time by the name of John Marshall. So let's talk about why the Marshall Court is important. John Marshall was a Federalist, meaning that he believed that the national government should have more power. Remember, that was a big belief of the Federalists. And when you are a member of the court, you have your job for life. So even though at times the Federalist Party starts to fade away, he's still going to be able to hold this position and he's still going to have his Federalist beliefs for a very long time. So it's not like just because the Federalist Party dies, suddenly everybody that was a Federalist, all of their beliefs have changed. So when he was Chief Justice, went through, and he's actually the third Supreme Court Justice. A lot of people think he was the first, but he wasn't. He was the third. And during his time as the Supreme Court Justice, a lot of cases came up in which he was going to see that, or in which the decisions that were made by the court would greatly expand the power of the federal government and the national government. And you're going to be looking at some of those cases today. So here it talks about in your next spot, how exactly we expanded the power of the national government. So under the John Marshall Court, we see the courts gain the power of judicial review with the case of Marbury versus Madison, which we talked about in the last unit. We see Congress being given the power to utilize that necessary and proper clause, that elastic clause that allows them to stretch their powers that we talked about. We also see Congress being given the power to control trade that happens between states. So if trade happens between North Carolina and New York, then the federal government and Congress gets to regulate that trade. If trade happens within a state, so it goes from Charlotte to Raleigh in North Carolina, then that doesn't have to be regulated by the US government. The state of North Carolina can regulate that trade themselves. But most trade typically goes across state lines. So that really means that the national government has a lot of power to regulate that trade. We also see that the national government is able to show in its early days the supremacy that it has over the states. So in your assignment today, you're going to be learning about not necessarily judicial review, because we talked about that one, but you're going to be learning and focusing in on the court cases of McCulloch versus Maryland and Gibbons versus Ogden, which are cases that you honestly should have learned about back in your civics and economics days as well. So that may have been a little while ago though. So this is going to be a little bit of a refresher on that. So here's what that assignment is going to look like. Let me pull this up for you. Okay, so the first thing it's going to do is give you just a little bit more background information about the Marshall Court. You're going to read that. You're going to answer this question. Then you're going to read this background information about McCulloch versus Maryland and then answer this question. Then you are going to be reading little pieces of the Constitution. So you've got the necessary and proper clause here, the supremacy clause, and the 10th Amendment. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at it, and based on that piece of the Constitution that you're reading, would it be that the bank and the national government should win or should be able to use that evidence to win their argument for having more power? Sorry if you're hearing my dog run around. Or should the state of Maryland win based on that piece of evidence? And this, again, is going to be what we were doing together in class, but you guys are going to have the time to do it just on your own if you're watching this, because you probably missed it, and that's why you're watching the video. So whichever one shouldn't win this argument, you're going to delete. So therefore, if you think that the bank is going to be the one that is going to win based on this piece of the Constitution, you just click on the picture of Maryland here and then you delete it. So then I'm going to scroll down and you're going to look at the decision in McCulloch versus Maryland. So you're going to read about the decision that they made. And then for each of these questions, you're going to tell me, is it a yes or no answer? And again, you're just going to delete the one that is incorrect. So if the answer to this was yes, you'll click on no and you'll delete it. Then we're going to come down here and you're going to learn about a different case, which is Gibbons versus Ogden. And you're going to read this information and put your answer in there. Then you're going to look at this information and tell me what powers the federal government has to do. You've got another decision with some yes or no questions here to answer. And then at the very end, you have just 3 multiple choice questions. And in order to answer the multiple choice questions, you're just going to highlight it and then either give it a color highlight or change the color of the font so I can see which one you're choosing. So that's it. When you're done with that, you need to go back, and if you have any assignments from last week from Unit 4 that are not finished, then you need to make sure that you get those completed. And other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next lesson. Bye, y'all.